Alright, now I'm going to make a somewhat little demo of how index sequencing could be done. Again, there's many different ways to do this. This is just a really basic way to do it. Just like in my other video, I'm just going to start off with a string. This string is, today is the day, the 8th of June. Pretty basic stuff. Now, if you watch the recordings of index sequencing, you know we're trying to figure out the number of A's, the number of B's, the number of C's, the number of D's, so on and so forth. Then we're going to perform a mathematical calculation on them and end up with the coincidence. I'm not going to show you all of it, but I'm going to at least show you how you can get started. This is one of the easiest ways. Okay, my code, I just declared a string, and then I just printed out that string. Now, to get this to work correctly, a capital A is technically different than a lowercase a. So I'm going to, as before, convert it to uppercase. There's what I did, my string.upper. And then I'm going to print out the upper string. Now, I did this before as well in the other video. Let me explain what this does. I'm going to make a comment here. Removes all but alpha characters. Okay. So I created a new string, called it new string, like that. Then I went with a loop. Again, this is a for loop, and I said for x, which is my variable, in range of the length of the string. So it's going to take this string, which is this string. It's going to go through the entire string, one character at a time. And what it's going to do is, if the character is alpha, in other words, is alpha like an A through a Z, this statement here returns true. And then this next statement gets processed. So what it says is, if the first character, for instance, with this starts at a 0, so if my string 0, which is a T, is alpha, which it is, then we're saying new string is equal to new string, which is currently nothing. So new string is equal to nothing plus that specific character, in this case, which is a T. I go through the entire thing over and over and over. This loop just keeps running. Now when I'm all done, I print this out. Now let's see, make sure it works. And when I run it, you'll see I get the initial string of today is the day, the 8th of June. I get my upper command, which then converts it all to uppercase. And then I print that one out. And then I'm getting rid of all the junk. Then I'm printing out the new string. And you'll see the new string is just like the original, but all uppercase with no stuff in it. Okay. Because that's pretty much what we want with index sequencing. We want to know the number of A's, the number of B's. Now you can't just sit here and count all those up. Not hard to do because it's a very short string. But what if I gave you an entire paragraph or an entire book? That would be a little bit tougher. So to do that, many ways to do it. You could literally make a variable to hold the number of A's, and you could say num A's, equals whatever, num B's. But why would you make all these separate variables? You can have an array or a list, as they call it in Python here. I made one called number of letters, and I'm saying this is equal to a list that's all being initialized to 0, and it's going to have 26 elements. Okay, so this statement declares me an array or a list, sets it all to 0, and sets them all, it does it 26 times, so they're all equal to 0. What I'm going to do with that is, what if we took the first element in this array and stored the A's in it? The second element, the B's. The third element, C's. Now we have to have one variable to manage all that. And I can actually print out to make sure it worked. Print num letters. Let's print out what 0 has in it. I'm going to copy that a couple times. Let's print out what 1 has in it and what 2 has in it. Okay, let's just run that, see what we get. We get 0, 0, 0, because really I initialized all 3 of them, actually all 26 of them, to zeros. So there's not much happening there yet. So now we need to go through this new string right here, which we know is right here. Today's the day, 8th of June. You see the 8 is missing, the commas is missing, the space is missing, and the periods is missing. All right, so how can I possibly do that? Well, let's think about this thing here for a second. What if I went through this new string? So let's make another loop for x in range len of a new string. Okay, I need one more parenthesis. Now, this is going to get a little tricky. What I want to do is I want to look at the first letter. Actually, I'm going to change my string up here to be A, B, C. Okay, just so I can make sure this is working correctly. And let's make sure it still runs, make sure we have no problem. Good, now it's A, B, C. I just want to do it so we can at least keep track of the first three letters there. Okay, so we're going to go through this new string, which in this case is now equal to ABC, today is the day, so on and so forth. We're going to go through this string. Now, if it's an A, I want to increment the first position or the num letter 0. If it's a B, I want to increment num letters 1, so on and so forth. And we learned in a prior video that we can use the ORD. So if I did ORD, and I typed a new string, which is the string we're using, and I specify the element or the index number, what I'm going to get, I'm going to print this out just so you can see it. Okay, let's print this out and see what we get. Okay, make sure I don't spill anything wrong. Okay. What I got was I got all the letters from that string. So let's find a good ASCII string. Let's say ASCII. Let's find that table we used before. Let's find a decent one. I think I was using this one before. Yeah, I was. Let's use this one. Okay, so an A, a capital A on this chart right there should be a 65. The second letter, the capital B, should be 66. The C should be 67. You see right there, A, B, C, 65, 66, 67. Then we get a T. A T is an 84. If we look at this chart, come all the way down here, sure enough, a T is an 84. Okay? Well, we got a problem. I defined my array, or my list right here, to hold 26 items. Well, if you look at this chart, the A is 65. So how am I going to store the number of A's in element 65? I don't have 65 items. What if I took this and subtracted 26? I'm not, sorry, 26, 65. Because really, I want to put the A's in the first element. So if an A is a 65, if I subtract 65, I should get 0. So if I did this correctly, this should be 0, 1, 2, and so on and so forth. Let's see what we get now. There it is. Look at that. What I did is I output the ASCII value of these letters right here, these letters, but I subtracted 65 from it. So every time we see an A, I should get a 0. And there's one there, there's another one there, and it works kind of nicely. So how can I store those in my array? Well, what I could do, rather than print this out as soon as you know it's working, I'm going to copy that so I don't lose that code right there. I'm going to change it. I'm going to say num letters. Okay, now since I want to specify the index, I'm just going to put that square bracket there. Okay, I'm going to also need one at the end. Okay, I'm going to comment this one out. We don't need that one right now. So what I said was the element number, because we know a second ago that for an A, it returned a 0. So I can say num letters, and all this will return a 0 for an A. It'll return a 1 for a B, a 2 for a C, so on and so forth. We know that did it because we just saw that. We saw it right here on the screen. So num letter is 0. Now I could say, equal, but you can do something in Python, plus equals 1. This is called the compound operator. And I'm basically saying num letters, this stuff, is equal to itself plus 1. So remember, initially I showed you num letters had 0 in it. And actually, let's print this out. Print num letters 0. Okay. And let me comment this out so we don't see all that at this second. So num letter 0 should have a 0 in it. Okay. So if I run this correctly, what it should do is it should go num letter 0, comment this guy out, we don't need him anymore, is equal to itself plus 1. I could have said, I could have done literally this as well, num letters. Okay, num letter, I'm just trying to write the long way now so you can see it, equals num letters plus 1. That's the other way to write it. But it's just so much work to do all that extra typing. But that's equivalent. So let me copy this down so you can see that I'm not lying to you. So this right here is actually equivalent to, let's get all of this. Those two whoops, no, they're not. Now they are. Okay, those two statements are equivalent. Okay, it's just so much easier to write this second one. So now I run this. Let's see what we get. Now, we shouldn't get any typos in there. Okay, well, it didn't do anything. Well, did it? We don't really know. What it did is it did something in here, but we don't have any print statements afterwards, so we really don't know what's happening. So let's print out, print letters 0. Now if I ran this correctly, in my string, remember num letter 0 should have the number of A's. So I should have 1, 2, there's 2, 3 A's. Y'all agree with me? I should have 3 A's. So if I did this correctly and I run this, it should print out a 3. Let's see what we get. Ah, beautiful. How many B's do we have? I see, starting up here, I see 1 B. And that's it. So if I was to change this to a 1, I should get 1. And sure enough, I did. Now, let's pick a letter we don't have. Let's pick, okay, do y'all agree there's no Z's in this statement? There's none. And if an A is 0, then a Z must be 25. Get how that works since there's 26 letters in the alphabet? So if I print out index number 25, now we should get 0 because there's no Z's. Okay, we know it's working beautifully. Well, we think it is. But how can I possibly make it print them all in a row? Let's find out. How about, just like before, for X in range, and let's go with the length of num letters. Oops. Num letters. And I'm going to indent him over, and now rather than the 25, let's just put in the X. So now we're going to loop through this thing, through the entire, if I spell num correctly. So I'm going to loop through this entire array right here that I filled right here. Now I'm going to go through the whole thing and print out the value of each one. So let's run this thing. Look at that. So I got 3 A's. Let's count. 1, 2, 3 A's. Correct. Number of B's, I got 1 right there. Number of C's, I got 1. Number of D's, it says I got 2. Let's find out. 1, 2. Correct. Okay, number of E's, I should have 3. 1, 2, 3. Number, what do I, A, B, C, D, F. Number of F's. You got one of them right there. So it is working as far as we can tell, but it's kind of hard to know. So what is this? What do I have 2 of here? How can I possibly, can I have it print out the letter and then the number of them? So let's see, what if we modify my print statement here? And I could do that. You know, I could say number of A's. But the problem is we're going to get an A every time. That's not what I want. Actually, first of all, I want an apostrophe there. Anyway, probably not really what I was looking for. So how can I possibly do this better? What if I did, since we know we can use the ORD command right here to get the ASCII value, so why don't we take the opposite? The opposite of the ASCII value is char, C-H-R. Okay, so if I print out CHR, Now that will give me the character of the ASCII value. Now the only problem we have here is that X is going to be a 0 initially. So, it's not really what we want to do. But remember here how we subtract 65? So we took the A from the 65 down to 0. Why don't we just add 65 plus 65? And get rid of that. Okay, now let's see what we get. Look at that. Isn't that handy? So now we know exactly how many of each type we have. Because what I did here is I took the character, converted it to the ordinal, the ASCII value, and here I took the X, which starts at 0, 0 all the way through 26, and I added 65 to it. And again, if we look at our chart, capital A is 65. So if I took a 0, add 65 to it, then convert it back to a character right here with a CHR, I'll get the letter A. So now I have a nice little list of how many of each type is in there. Now we're not doing the entire math for the instance coincidence, but this will give you an idea of at least how to count up the letters. Now I would probably, now that we know all this worked, I get rid of this code here, I get rid of this code here, let's make sure it still runs and make sure I didn't screw it up. Yes, and it works perfectly. Look at that. Okay. And if we want to verify, yep, you got 3 A's. Let's go make sure. Let's add 2 more A's. And let's add a Z. Now if I run it, so since I added 2 more A's, this should become a 5, and this should now become a 1. Let's make sure it works. Aha, look, A's became a 5. I think you saw that right there. And Z's right there became a 1. Now if I take that out of there, so we just have my original string, and now I run it. See, now I have the actual number in there, and this can take any string. I could actually get input for it. I could do whatever I want to do and be able to calculate the number of each letter. So, not totally done with the index of coincidence, but a lot closer than we were. All right, hope it helps.